My sister-in-law kicked me in the belly at 8 months pregnant, then stole our 150K baby fund. I never thought someone in my own family could hurt me like that physically, emotionally, and financially. My husband and I had spent years building our dream life and saving every dollar for our baby's future. My name is Melissa, I'm 30 years old, and I live in Denver, Colorado with my husband Benjamin. Up until recently, life felt like a beautiful, unfolding story, especially now as we were preparing to welcome our first child. I was already 8 months pregnant, and every little kick, every flutter, every tiny heartbeat filled us with awe and anticipation. Benjamin and I had poured our hearts and efforts into preparing for this new chapter. For the last 2 years, we'd been carefully planning and saving. Our baby's future became our top priority. Benjamin, an IT consultant, often took on extra freelance work, and I handled our finances as a full-time accountant. We cut back on luxuries, skipped vacations, and lived modestly so we could build a solid financial safety net for any medical needs that might arise before, during, or after delivery. Together, we had managed to save $150,000. That number wasn't just money to us. It was security. It was peace of mind. It meant that no matter what happened, our baby would get the best care possible. Throughout my pregnancy, Benjamin was my constant anchor. He never missed a single doctor's appointment. He helped set up the nursery, read parenting books with me at night, and dreamed about our future as a family of 3. We painted the nursery a soft sky blue, assembled the crib with care, and stocked the drawers with neatly folded onesies and diapers. Every little detail in that room felt like a promise of love. But I wasn't just blessed with Benjamin. His mother Evelyn became like a second mom to me. With my own parents living far away, Evelyn stepped in with open arms. She was kind, warm, and thrilled to become a grandmother. She cooked my favorite meals, invited us over for Sunday lunches, and offered advice that came from her own years of parenting. Her presence was a comfort I didn't know I needed, especially as things with Benjamin's sister Christina remained complicated. Christina, Benjamin's older sister, had always kept some emotional distance from us. Over the years, she'd battled infertility, and my heart genuinely ached for her. I never judged or criticized, I only tried to be kind. But her pain had twisted into something darker, something bitter. Her passive-aggressive remarks became a routine part of any rare interaction we had. I always tried to stay calm, respectful, and avoid conflict, but her words still hurt. To maintain peace, Benjamin and I would plan visits to Evelyn's house when we knew Christina wouldn't be there. Most of the time, this worked. We'd slip in, enjoy a warm meal with Evelyn, and leave with full hearts. But I had no idea how quickly our world was about to unravel. The darkness waiting just ahead would shake me to my core. When I was about 2 months pregnant, Benjamin and I heard our baby's heartbeat for the very first time. The soft, rapid thumping filled the exam room during our ultrasound, and I remember tears streaming down both of our cheeks. It was real. There was a life inside of me. That night, we held each other close and celebrated quietly, overwhelmed with gratitude and joy. By the 5th month, my morning sickness had subsided, and we reached another milestone, the gender reveal. I lay on the exam table, Benjamin squeezing my hand, both of us trembling slightly. The ultrasound tech smiled and said, "Congratulations, it's a boy." Tears welled in my eyes. Benjamin leaned in and whispered, "Our little Bobby." We had chosen the name months ago, but now it felt so real, so alive. As the weeks passed, we became more ready, not just financially, but emotionally. We finalized Bobby's nursery, sorted tiny clothes by size, and reached our goal, $150 on $1,000 saved. That number gave me strength. I felt proud, safe, prepared. And Evelyn remained our guiding light. She cooked, brought vitamins, and even tagged along to doctor appointments when Benjamin was too busy. Her excitement was genuine. She crocheted tiny blankets, beamed when talking about Bobby, and always told me how lucky he was to have parents like us. But Christina's resentment was like a shadow that never quite went away. We mostly succeeded in avoiding her, but there were moments brief and sharp when our paths crossed, and the air around her was always heavy with tension. One Sunday, Evelyn invited us for lunch. She had made my favorite roast chicken with garlic butter. Benjamin and I brought flowers, hoping for a peaceful afternoon. But the moment we stepped inside, my heart dropped. Christina was there. She was already seated at the dining table, her cold gaze locking with mine. She forced a smile, but her words cut like ice. "Well, look at you," she said, voice dripping with sarcasm. "Still playing the delicate, pregnant princess, I see." I took a slow breath, determined not to let her rattle me. "Hello, Christina," I said softly. Benjamin stepped in immediately, calm but firm. "Enough, Christina. We're here for lunch, not your comments." She shrugged with faux innocence. "Just making small talk. Don't be so sensitive." Evelyn, ever the peacemaker, jumped in to steer the conversation elsewhere, asking about the nursery, suggesting baby names, even though Bobby already had one. We all tried to play along, but the tension simmered beneath every word, every silence. Christina mostly stayed on her phone, rolling her eyes whenever Evelyn gushed about Bobby's arrival. I kept reminding myself just a few hours. Then we'd go home, safe, away from her. But I couldn't have known that this quiet lunch would be one of our last calm moments before everything changed. A few days after that uncomfortable lunch, Benjamin had a packed schedule filled with meetings and errands. I was feeling relatively good that day. No nausea, no swelling. So I decided to accept Evelyn's invitation to come over and help her organize some of the baby supplies she'd been gathering. These visits always made me feel lighter, calmer. She had a gentle way of easing my worries without even trying. The moment I stepped into Evelyn's house, the familiar warmth wrapped around me. The scent of freshly baked banana bread filled the air. She greeted me with a smile and open arms. "Come in, sweetheart." "I made your favorite," she said, leading me into the kitchen. We spent the next hour chatting as we folded tiny onesies and bibs, going over last-minute baby items I might need. Evelyn made me feel like I wasn't doing this alone. She reminded me of everything that was good and kind in the world. But peace never lasts forever. Just as I stood to grab another box, the front door opened. My body tensed immediately. I knew that voice. Christina. She sauntered into the living room, not even glancing in my direction. "Oh, it's you," she muttered flatly. "Didn't think you'd be here today." I kept my tone neutral, careful. "I didn't know you'd be here either." Evelyn, sensing the tension, immediately offered an awkward smile and excused herself. "I'll go grab a few storage bins from the upstairs closet," she said, disappearing to the second floor. And just like that, I was alone with Christina. My pulse picked up. My instincts screamed. I didn't like being alone with her, but I didn't want to appear weak either. She finally put her phone down and looked at me, eyes hard and unblinking. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice sharper than I'd ever heard it. "It's about the money." I blinked, confused. "What money?" "The $150,000 you and Benjamin saved for the baby," she said bluntly, crossing her arms. "I need it." My breath caught. For a moment I thought I misheard her, but the look in her eyes told me otherwise. "That money is for Bobby's medical care, Christina," I said slowly. "It's for emergencies. For delivery, postnatal care, anything unexpected." "You don't even know if you'll need it," she snapped. "Meanwhile, I'm drowning in debt from fertility treatments. Family is supposed to help each other. And you're being selfish." I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice calm. "I'm truly sorry for what you've gone through. I can't imagine the pain. But this money isn't negotiable. It's for my son's health and safety. I can't give it to you." Her face twisted with rage. "You don't deserve any of this. You just got lucky. You've never struggled like I have. You don't even appreciate how blessed you are." Before I could respond, Evelyn's voice called from upstairs. "Everything okay down there?" "We're fine, Evelyn." I called back, my voice a shaky lie. But inside, everything screamed that we were not fine. Christina's expression had hardened into something frightening. Her fists clenched, her breathing quickened. I stepped back slightly, but she stepped forward. "You think you're better than me," she hissed. "You don't deserve Benjamin. You don't deserve this baby. Christina, please." I said, my voice trembling. "Calm down. This isn't the way to handle anything." She didn't let me finish. With terrifying speed, she lunged forward and kicked me hard, straight in the belly. I screamed as pain ripped through my abdomen. My body folded instinctively, arms flying to protect my belly, tears burning down my face. Then I felt it. A sudden warm gush. My water had broken. I gasped, horror tightening every muscle in my body, but Christina wasn't done. As I doubled over in pain, she grabbed a fistful of my hair and yanked my head back violently. I cried out as sharp pain shot through my scalp. Her other hand clamped down on my face, nails digging into my skin. "Maybe if I ruin your perfect little life now," she snarled, "you'll finally understand real pain." I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. All I could do was sob and protect my belly as best I could. Then suddenly, Christina Evelyn's voice rang out from the hallway. She stood frozen in the doorway, horrified at the sight of her daughter attacking me. And then she moved. She ran toward us and without hesitation slapped Christina across the face. The sound cracked like lightning through the room. "What is wrong with you?" she screamed. "She's 8 months pregnant. You've gone too far." Christina stumbled back, stunned by her mother's rage. Evelyn didn't waste another second. She reached for her phone, voice shaking. "Melissa, don't move. I'm calling Benjamin. I'm calling 911 right now." The pain was unbearable. My vision blurred. I clung to Evelyn's voice like a lifeline. Everything after that was a blur. Sirens, red lights, the sound of Benjamin's panicked voice, the rush of paramedics lifting me onto a stretcher. "I'm here, sweetheart. I've got you," he kept saying, holding my hand. "Bobby's going to be okay. Just hold on." The police were there, too. Officer Scott, calm but cold, handcuffed Christina without hesitation. "You're under arrest for felony assault and endangering an unborn child," he said. "You have the right to remain silent." Christina tried to protest, but Evelyn cut her off. "Enough, you brought this on yourself. You've crossed a line no mother can forgive." Benjamin rode with me in the ambulance. He didn't let go of my hand the entire ride. My body screamed in pain, but all I could think was, "Please, Bobby, stay with me. Just breathe, Melissa." "We're almost there," Benjamin whispered over and over again. The paramedics were calm, efficient. One of them spoke gently. "You're doing great, Melissa. Just hang in there for your baby." When we reached the hospital, the emergency team was already waiting. The doors flew open. The lights above me blurred as they rushed me into surgery. "Prepare for emergency C-section," I heard someone say. "Preterm labor, approximately 34 weeks. Benjamin's hand slipped from mine as they wheeled me away. The last thing I saw was his face mouthing the words, "I love you." And then, darkness. When I woke up, everything felt distant, blurry, like trying to reach through water. My body was sore, my head foggy, and the quiet beeping of machines filled the room. My hands instinctively reached for my stomach. It was flat, empty. Panic surged through me. "Bobby," I whispered, barely audible. A nurse leaned over, gently touching my arm. "Melissa, you're awake. The surgery went well. Your son is stable. He's in the NICU. He's a strong little fighter." Relief crashed over me in waves. My baby was alive. Moments later, Benjamin entered the room. His eyes were red-rimmed with exhaustion, but when he saw me awake, he gave me the softest, most broken smile I'd ever seen. He came to my side and took my hand. "Bobby's okay," he whispered. "He's small, but the doctors say he's strong. You both made it." Tears slid silently down my face. I squeezed his hand, though my fingers felt weak. And Christina, I asked quietly. His jaw clenched. She's in jail where she belongs. Officer Scott arrested her on the spot. Mom gave the police the entire security camera footage. It recorded everything, her threats, the assault, all of it. I closed my eyes. So much pain, so much fear. And now, the long path to healing. Evelyn's supporting us fully, Benjamin added. She's heartbroken, but she's standing by us. She's staying strong. A mix of emotions swirled inside me, grief, relief, rage, and a quiet, burning need for justice. I nodded slowly. She almost killed our son, I said. My voice raw. We can't let her get away with this. Benjamin's grip on my hand tightened. I've already called Attorney Eric. He's gathering all the evidence. Christina won't get away with anything. She'll face justice. Though my body ached, my mind was clear. This wasn't just about me anymore. Christina had crossed a line that could never be undone. The next few days were a blur of hospital hallways, antiseptic smells, and quiet moments beside Bobby's incubator in the NICU. He was so tiny, his chest rising and falling under a web of tubes and monitors. Every breath he took, every time the machines beeped, my heart twisted. But he was alive. We spent hours each day at his side, whispering words of love through the plastic barrier. I cried the first time I was allowed to touch him. His little hand curled instinctively around my finger, so small, so fragile, but so full of life. He's a strong little guy, the neonatologist told us. At 34 weeks with proper NICU care, babies usually do very well. We'll keep monitoring his breathing, feeding, and weight gain. Evelyn visited often. She brought warm meals, clean clothes, and emotional support. She sat beside me at night, sometimes in silence, just holding my hand as I watched Bobby sleep. You're stronger than you know, she told me one evening. And Bobby, he's a fighter, just like his mother. Benjamin never left my side. Even as he juggled conversations with Attorney Eric and detectives, he came to the NICU every single day. We stood together watching Bobby breathe, whispering promises to him. One by one, the wires started coming off. His weight increased. His lungs grew stronger. The nurses, some of whom had grown attached to him, called him our little warrior. After 5 long, emotional weeks, our doctor came in smiling. Your son is ready to go home. I burst into tears. Benjamin wrapped me in his arms and whispered, We're finally taking our little boy home. That moment, leaving the hospital with Bobby in my arms, was the most powerful emotional moment of my life. It was like walking out of a nightmare into the light. But the nightmare wasn't over, not entirely. Now that Bobby was home safe and growing stronger by the day, it was time to face the other battle, the legal one. Christina had nearly destroyed our family. She needed to be held accountable. Attorney Eric came to Evelyn's house one afternoon carrying a thick folder. Inside were medical records, police reports, and the full security footage Evelyn had handed over. He sat across from us, serious and calm. I've reviewed everything, he said. The evidence is overwhelming. The footage clearly shows the assault, not just the kick to your abdomen, but the hair pulling, the face grabbing. Combined with your hospital records, NICU documentation, and police statements, we have a very strong case. Benjamin nodded grimly. She almost killed my wife and my son. We want her fully held accountable. Eric continued, Because you were 8 months pregnant, the charges are more severe under state law. Christina will be facing multiple felony counts, including aggravated assault on a pregnant woman, reckless endangerment of an unborn child, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I swallowed, clutching Bobby tighter in my arms. How long could she be sentenced for, I asked. Eric hesitated. Given the severity of the charges and the evidence, we'll push for the maximum. Full prison sentence. No probation. No plea deals. Evelyn sat beside me, wiping a tear from her cheek. It breaks my heart as a mother, she said quietly. But Melissa, Benjamin, you both deserve justice, and Bobby deserves to grow up safe. Benjamin reached over and gently squeezed her hand. Thank you, Mom. We couldn't have done this without you. As Eric left to finalize the filing, I looked down at Bobby's peaceful, sleeping face. I made a silent promise to him. I will protect you. No one will ever hurt you again. The legal battle had begun, and this time we weren't backing down. 2 months later, we sat in the courtroom. Benjamin held my hand tightly, his thumb gently brushing over mine, grounding me through the storm. Attorney Eric sat beside us, his file organized, his confidence quiet but firm. Across the room sat Christina. She looked pale, thinner than before. Her usual cold arrogance was replaced with something else, nervous energy, false composure. Her eyes darted everywhere but never once met mine. The room was tense, every bench filled with people whispering, waiting. The judge entered, and the trial began. The prosecution opened with precision and clarity. They laid out every piece of evidence, starting with the demand Christina made for our $150,000 savings. Then came the threats, the attack, and the consequences. They played the security footage on a large screen. The room fell silent. There it was, every horrifying second. Christina's fury, her lunge, the brutal kick to my belly, my collapse, her grabbing my face, yanking my hair, my scream, the moment my water broke, Evelyn's entrance, her slap, the chaos. When the video ended, I could feel every eye in the room locked onto her. This was not a spontaneous outburst, the prosecutor said firmly. This was a deliberate and violent attack on a pregnant woman and her unborn child. Christina's defense attorney tried to frame her as emotionally unstable, overwhelmed by infertility grief. He painted a picture of a woman broken, lashing out from pain. But when she took the stand, her own words betrayed her. I was pushed too far, she snapped during cross-examination. She had everything I wanted. I just lost control for a moment. That's not a crime, the prosecutor calmly responded, but it is, and a very serious one. That moment of rage endangered 2 innocent lives. Benjamin's grip on my hand tightened. I could feel the tension in his body, anger, pain, but also restraint. We had come too far to let emotion cloud this process. We needed the law to speak. Evelyn was called to the stand. Her voice was steady, though I saw the pain in her eyes. I love my daughter, she said, but what she did was unforgivable. I witnessed it. I handed the footage to the police myself. Melissa is like a daughter to me, and no one deserves to be attacked like that, especially while pregnant. She glanced at me in that moment, and I felt the deep sorrow behind her strength. She had lost a part of her family that day, but she'd chosen to stand on the side of what was right. Finally, after several long days, the judge prepared to read the verdict. The room went silent. Christina, the judge, began, voice unwavering. You have been found guilty on all charges: aggravated assault on a pregnant woman, reckless endangerment of an unborn child, and intentional infliction of emotional and psychological harm. Christina stared straight ahead, jaw tight, her face pale and drained. Given the severity of your actions and the evidence presented, the judge continued, you are hereby sentenced to 5 years in state prison without the possibility of early parole. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution for all medical expenses, emotional damages, and legal costs incurred by the victims. The gavel came down hard, echoing through the courtroom like thunder. I exhaled a deep breath, tears stinging my eyes, tears of release, of justice, of peace. Benjamin leaned in close, whispering, "It's over. She's finally being held accountable." As Christina was led away in handcuffs, she turned and shot us one last bitter look. But her power was gone. The damage she had done could never be undone, but now at least the scales had balanced. After the sentencing, it felt like a heavy weight had lifted. A dark cloud that had hovered over our lives was finally beginning to fade. We returned to Evelyn's home that evening. Bobby, now growing stronger each day, lay asleep in his bassinet nearby. His tiny chest rose and fell with perfect rhythm. His lips curled slightly in his dreams, as if the world around him had finally calmed. Evelyn sat beside us, her expression softer than I'd seen in weeks. "I know this has been an incredibly painful time for you, for all of us," she said quietly, reaching for my hand. "I can never undo what Christina did, but I want you to know my home is open to you, to both of you, as long as you need. I would be honored if you stayed here while you heal, while you raise Bobby." Her voice trembled with emotion, but her sincerity was undeniable. I looked at Benjamin. He gave me a warm, grateful smile and nodded. "That would mean a lot to us, Mom," he said. "You've already done so much. We'd be grateful to stay, to start fresh together." And so we did. We moved into Evelyn's home. It became our sanctuary, our place to begin again. She helped with feedings, doctor visits, and late nights when Bobby refused to sleep. She poured all the love in her heart into her grandson. I saw it in every quiet moment she spent holding him, humming lullabies, and rocking him in her arms. And I knew then in my bones that the cycle of pain had ended with her. The days slowly turned into weeks, and within the walls of Evelyn's home, healing began to take root. Bobby was thriving. His once fragile body began to fill out with the healthy roundness of baby fat. His curious little eyes followed us everywhere, and each time he smiled, it felt like the first ray of sunlight breaking through after a long, endless storm. Our home, once defined by tension and trauma, was now full of quiet lullabies, soft giggles, and the rhythm of a family learning to love again. Benjamin and I fell into a new rhythm too. Every morning we woke to Bobby's tiny cries, and every night we took turns rocking him to sleep. It wasn't easy. We were still tired, still scarred from everything we had endured, but the pain no longer controlled us. It didn't define us. It just reminded us how strong we had become. Evelyn, she became our anchor. She cooked, cleaned, helped with diaper changes, and more than anything, she gave Bobby a kind of grandparental love that was pure and unwavering. But there were times late at night when she thought no one was watching, when I saw her staring out the window, her face lined with sadness. I knew she was thinking of Christina, of the daughter she had lost. And yet, despite her sorrow, she chose light over darkness. She poured her love into Bobby, and through that she found a new purpose. "You two have given this family a second chance," she told us one evening, cradling Bobby close. "And Bobby, he's our new beginning." 1 year passed faster than I ever imagined. Life became soft, almost peaceful. The memory of the attack no longer haunted my every breath. We had built something new from the wreckage, something honest and whole. And then came the day we had been dreaming of through all the sleepless nights and hospital visits. Bobby's first birthday. Evelyn spent the entire week planning it. She went all out. Balloons filled the living room, pastel streamers curled around the windows, and the air smelled sweet with vanilla and warm sugar. A small, perfect blue and white cake sat on the table, topped with a giant #1 candle. Friends and family filled the house, their laughter echoing down the halls. Benjamin stood behind me with his arms wrapped around my waist, and Evelyn sat close by, her eyes shimmering with joy as we all sang "Happy Birthday." I couldn't stop the tears from falling, but this time they weren't born from pain or fear. They were born from something much deeper: gratitude. 1 year ago, I had been lying in a hospital bed, unsure if my son would survive, unsure if I would survive. But now here he was, clapping along with the song, fascinated by the flame on the candle, his chubby fingers reaching out in wonder. I leaned down and kissed his forehead. "You are my miracle," I whispered. "You're why I fought. And I always will." Benjamin gently added, "You're the reason we're stronger than ever." Evelyn placed her hand over mine and said softly, "And Bobby, he's the light that helped heal what I thought was broken forever." The rest of the day felt like a dream, friends mingling, children playing, and laughter filling the air. I stood back for a moment, taking it all in. My husband laughing with our guests, Evelyn rocking Bobby gently in her arms, our home full of warmth and joy. We had survived. We had come through the fire not burned, but forged stronger. The shadows of Christina's choices had once threatened to destroy us, but in the end, we rose above it. Not with vengeance, not with hate, but with love and with each other. This was our new beginning, our family, our peace, and no matter what the future held, I knew this, we would face it together. After Bobby's birthday, something shifted in me. It wasn't just that we had survived, it was that we had reclaimed our lives. The trauma no longer had its claws in me. I could breathe freely again, laugh freely, sleep without fear. And every time I looked into my son's bright, innocent eyes, I was reminded of the promise I had made to him that I would protect him, that I would never let darkness touch him again, and keeping that promise meant finishing what we had started. Christina's sentencing had brought closure, but the legal process wasn't over yet. There were court-ordered restitution hearings, medical expense filings, and civil suit options that attorney Eric carefully walked us through. He handled every step with care, meticulous, determined, respectful of our emotions. "She took something from you that can't be measured in money," he said during one meeting, "but we're still going to hold her accountable for every part of the damage." I appreciated that. It wasn't about revenge. It was about responsibility. It was about showing Bobby one day that his parents didn't stay silent when it mattered. Evelyn continued to stand by us during the process, even when it meant confronting lawyers or submitting emotional testimony. I watched her wrestle with guilt, with the heartbreak of being both a mother and a grandmother during this impossible situation. "I raised her," she once said, her voice trembling. "But I didn't raise that. I don't know what happened inside her, Melissa, but I swear I'll never let it touch Bobby. Not ever." And she didn't. She became more than just a helper. She became Bobby's safe place. His comfort, his laughter, his extra arms when ours were tired. And somewhere along the way, she became mine too. Time passed. Quietly. Gently. The house filled with new memories of Bobby's first steps on the kitchen floor. His first words whispered in the early morning light. His giggles bouncing off the walls as Benjamin chased him through the living room. Life, once chaotic and dark, bloomed with joy and light. One evening, after putting Bobby to bed, I sat on the back porch with Benjamin. The sky above us was streaked with orange and purple. He handed me a cup of tea and leaned back his arm around my shoulders. "Do you ever think about it?" he asked softly. "What could have happened?" I nodded, my fingers tightening slightly around the cup, every now and then. But not with fear anymore. More like a reminder. A reminder of that we survived. That we protected him. That we didn't let it break us. He pulled me in closer and kissed the side of my head. "You're stronger than you'll ever know, Melissa." "No," I whispered. "We are." I often thought about the road ahead. About one day telling Bobby the truth, age-appropriate, when he was old enough to understand. Not to scare him, not to pass on trauma, but to show him how love and courage can stand against anything, and how family isn't always defined by blood. Sometimes it's chosen, fought for, forged in fire and rebuilt with love. A year and a half after the trial, we decided to move out of Evelyn's home and into a place of our own, not out of distance, but growth. It was time to build a new space just for us, a fresh start. Evelyn helped us pack every box. She cried when we hugged her goodbye that first night, but we promised it wouldn't be the end, just a new beginning. She visits every weekend. Bobby runs into her arms the moment she walks through the door, shrieking "Grandma" with all the love in the world. And she deserves it. We all do. Now every morning when I wake up and see the sunlight pouring through Bobby's bedroom window, I feel at peace. Not just the absence of fear, but the presence of safety, of wholeness, of strength hard-won and deeply cherished. We may never forget what happened, and that's okay. Because remembering isn't the same as reliving. It's proof. Proof that love is stronger than hate. That even in the darkest moments, there is a path forward. And that some promises, like the one I whispered to my baby boy the day he was born, can become the very foundation of your life. I will protect you. Always. No matter what. Thank you so much for watching our emotional story. If it touched your heart, and you'd like to hear more powerful, inspiring stories like this, please give this video a like. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so feel free to share them in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Your support truly means the world to me. We'll see you in the next story.